Hello everyone, welcome to this session on Google Cloud VMware Engine, also known as GCVE. My name is Satya Shrestha, a senior staff multi-cloud solutions architect here at VMware, and I'm joined by Corey Adolphus, who is a specialist customer engineer at Google Cloud. Welcome, Corey.
Good to be here, Satya.
Okay, Corey, if you could briefly introduce yourself to our viewers, that would be really great.
Yeah, sure thing. My name's Corey Adolphus. I'm a specialist customer engineer with Google Cloud. Been with Google for a bit over 6 years, and I've been a specialist in the VMware Engine product for the past 3 years.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate your introduction. All right, so today in this video, we'll talk about recent updates in Google Cloud VMware Engine service and value these updates bring to our customers and partners. With that, let's get started. So, Corey, tell us what is exactly happening in GCVE and what are the new updates to the service?
Yeah, will do. All right. Well, so with Google Cloud VMware Engine, or GCVE, we have been focused on helping customers migrate to cloud as quickly as possible. And there's no quicker way to do that than to move your workloads as is with VMware technology.
Yep.
But we're also trying to make sure that we can help our customers on their journey towards transformation, transforming their infrastructure, transforming their applications and their businesses.
Absolutely.
And a key part of that, of course, is being available in locations that they actually want, our customers want. And when we first started, we were available in about 8 regions globally, and the service has been really, really successful. So we have expanded significantly across to now 18 regions. So Google Cloud has about 37 regions, I think, at last count, and VMware Engine is available in 18 of those. Myself, I'm in Sydney. The Sydney region's obviously fantastic for the customers that I look after. And in fact, we've got 2 separate availability zones in Sydney that has a VMware Engine. So customers can deploy to both those zones. They're geographically separated. And you can also elect to do stretch clustering in Sydney.
So all the asterisks here in this figure here, those are the ones that has 2 zones there, right?
That is correct, yes. So also Frankfurt, London, and North Virginia.
Got it. So to set the context about GCVE, for those who don't know what Google Cloud VMware Engine is, can you tell us what exactly this service is, and why it is really good for our enterprise customers?
Yeah, definitely. Look, the way that Google has brought this service to market, we've tried to bring VMware technology and cloud technology and the things that people like about cloud and the things that people like about VMware and bring those together. Right, exactly. So to create the best of both worlds. And some of the things that we have ddone with VMware as a service running in Google Cloud that helps it become something that is akin to more of a cloud native service, some of the things that you're seeing on the screen here. So this is a first party offering from Google. So it's sold and supported by Google. It appears in Google Cloud Console alongside all of our other cloud native services, things like Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, BigQuery. VMware Engine is right there in the console, right? We allow and support very rapid provisioning of the service, certainly a lot more rapid than if you were to deploy, install, configure VMware in a traditional data center model. This is something that you can have fully set up within an hour and have a complete end-to-end environment. Also, customers of cloud services are used to things like automatically scaling, both up and down, as your demands or your burst requirements dictate. We've brought that capability to VMware as well, and we do that in cloud. Of course, self-service, that it wouldn't be cloud without that. You click and deploy, or do it through an API or infrastructure as code. You don't need to forward plan and pre-purchase capacity for your kind of the next 3 years. You can actually 100% get it on demand. As your needs change, you can grow or shrink. Right, so all of that kind of capacity on demand, and it's fully integrated with the rest of Google Cloud. So integrated into our billings. You get it on your Google Cloud bill just like any other service. We also have very, very good integration with other Google Cloud services, just with native networking integration, which I'll talk about later, and permission model as well. So around IAM.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, especially that auto-scaling bit. When we are to do this, let's say in on-prem, if I have to add 1 or 2 hosts, it takes sometimes even days, right? And proper planning, etc. is needed. Now in GCVE, you can just, with the click of a button, you can just auto-scale it, right? So what is the time usually it takes to add, let's say, 1 host?
Look, it'll depend on how busy the vSphere cluster is. However, it is around about 20 minutes in my experience, which I think is still a lot faster than you would be able to do that in a on-premise technology.
Absolutely. That's what cloud is for, right? You increase it when you need it and you decrease it when you don't need it. Yeah, that's great. Now, in terms of integration of GCP services, you said, what are the popular services that you think you have seen our customers using in today's scenario?
The first thing that we see customers take advantage of is the networking integration. We've created a very simple model in order to have VMware workloads in GCVE exist as a first-class citizen, if you like, with other cloud-native workloads like Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine. So it's all on the same underlying network. There's full end-to-end routing between the two. So you can have something running in VMware Engine and something running in Compute Engine, and they talk to each other just with straight IP networking, and it's all very, very straightforward. Right. And then what we see in terms of, more integration, if you like, is some of our network security and load balancers and firewall functionality that we have in the cloud, bringing some of those capabilities, but leaving your applications and the runtime, if you like, where they already are in a VMware construct on GCVE, and then just sort of layering in some of our networking capabilities on top of that in the cloud. They're probably the two areas that we see customers take advantage of as a really easy first step. But also, when you have your entire business and all of the applications and all of your transactional data sitting inside of VMware workloads, a lot of customers want to now see, okay, well, now we've actually got it in the cloud. How can we get some insights into this data in an easier way than what we might have been able to do when it was on premise? And so linking up and extracting data from your operational data sets, say in SQL Server or MySQL, Postgres databases that you might have in VMware, and then pulling those records into our planet scale analytics engine called BigQuery and performing some advanced analytics with that. And then, of course, maybe taking advantage of that data and training some AI models on top of that. So that's definitely a space that our customers are more and more getting into as well.
Yeah, that's really great use case, because all of your data and applications are sitting together with your GCP services, right? And that gives you highly performant integration, and also the modernized use case where you can, like I said, extract data from VMware Engine, consume it on the GCP side, and then do all this innovative stuff together with this GCVE as well as GCP platform, right?
Exactly. The other thing as well is, yes, integration with the rest of Google Cloud is really important. And, that's the area that we're saying, helping customers, sort of lift, if you like, lift and shift to begin with, and then start to take advantage of some of these other capabilities that you are now, right next door to when you're inside Google Cloud. But we're still very much focused on making VMware Engine a highly performant, highly available and robust service, because customers are running their core business, right? Exactly. Almost always, they're coming from what is on-premise, VMware. That's where they're running all of their core business applications. In fact, all of their applications almost. If they're now moving that to Google Cloud, we need to make sure that it is very, very rock solid. And so we provide the highest SLA of the VMware in cloud options, even if you deploy to a single zone. So I talked about how some of our regions have multiple zones, but even if you just deploy in a single zone, we offer 4 nines of availability, which is very, very high.
With single zone, 4 nines? Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And then the actual technology that we use to underpin the service is enterprise grade kit. So these are really, really high performance systems that have redundancy throughout. So redundant power supplies, redundant cooling, redundant network uplinks. And those go to redundant top of rack switches, which then go to redundant spine switches and so forth. So we're really focused on having built a service that is the highest of availability, but that our most mission critical customers expect. Yes. And that's what we've delivered with the way we've built VMware Engine. We support large 32 node clusters, and that is going to increase over time as well. Yep. And I talked about the deep integration into Google's network. Everyone would probably understand that Google runs a pretty large planet scale network to service the internet, and the billions of users that use our direct to the consumer services like search and maps and YouTube and so forth. It's that same network that Google Cloud services gets to leverage. And so cloud customers of Google benefiting from our planet scale network that we've built out for our consumer services. And so it's a very, very high throughput, very high performance and low latency planet scale network. Yes. And VMware Engine can connect to multiple locations with just a click of a button. It's really, really easy to create the network architecture that you need for your VMware applications and fit that in with your new potentially cloud native applications as well.
Right. So it's like really easy to go from one region to multi-region and then start consuming services from other regions as well, right?
That's right. And service the customers that you might have across regions as well. So you don't have to stitch together a complicated region by region kind of network and then create all of these sort of peering. No, there's none of that. It very much is a direct access to all of the regions globally if you want.
Really, really simplified networking. I can see that. I like it.
Yeah, sure. So I guess in terms of, you asked, well, what's new, right? VMware Engine, we launched back in 2020. We've had a number of feature releases over the past 3 years. So, as of the recording now, we're in September of 2023 timeline now.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of announcements that we've made recently. Because we are always innovating and bringing new capabilities to the service. And some of that is around a new option for the underlying node. So the existing node type that we've had since launch has been what we call the VE1 node type. We now have just introduced the VE2 node type, and it is in preview in some regions, and it will roll out to other regions, over the coming months.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'll go into it in more detail shortly, but it has a really cool capability of being able to take the one hardware type and actually have it configured in multiple different ways. And so it's almost like a cloud native sort of a GCE instance, Google Compute Engine, which you can choose the memory and choose the storage and so forth, and how many CPUs. We're bringing that capability to VMware Engine.
Nice.
So the other thing is around just making this easier. We're now making it even easier with some of the zero config networking that we have introduced in our latest release. So now when you create a VMware Engine environment, it's automatically paired with your cloud native VPC, literally less things just to have to configure, right? Security, absolutely top of mind, as it should be. And we continue to provide enhancements in that space. It doesn't exist in isolation, right? Just because you've brought VMware workloads and you can run a VMware workload, you still need to be able to integrate with other technologies, because VMware exists in an ecosystem that customers have been using on-premise in other providers. And so we have some neat integrations with other technologies that are complementary to VMware, and I'll go through that. Making sure that we're keeping up with what is on trend. Everyone's talking about AI and generative AI, and you might not think of it necessarily in the context of running VMs. Well, we've got some interesting things that we've built in that space, which I'll preview in a moment as well.
Yeah, sure. Gen AI and all these things are really trend now, right? And if you can have that directly consumed from GCVE, that's cherry on top of the cake.
Exactly. So look a bit more about the VE2 platform. All right. It's a new node type that, again, maintains the enterprise-grade full redundancy that I was just talking about before. So it's a next-generation platform. It's running Intel Ice Lake CPUs, which can have as much as a 50% reduction in inter-thread communication latency. So it can be really, really hugely beneficial in certain compute-intensive workloads, database, multi-threaded workloads as well. It can be really good for that. But just in general, it's just bigger and better, right? Right. And whilst it'll be the one physical node, you will be able to have it configured with multiple different options or configurations, basically. So you'll be able to choose the core count. Now, you can already do that on the VE1 platform, so that functionality continues. But you will also be able to configure different storage capacities. And of course, when you configure a lower core count and a lower storage capacity, then you are paying less, right? So otherwise you wouldn't do it, right? So this is so that you can fit the node shape in terms of how much resources it has on both the compute side and the storage side to best fit your workload, and therefore fit a TCO that works out.
So does it mean that, let's say if I choose 64 core and 12.8 TB of storage, does it mean that it will give me the hardware with VE2 with just that configuration?
Yes. Yes, so it's the same physical box as if you chose a different one. It's just that we're effectively in BIOS before the node is brought into your environment. The cores are disabled to make it only 64 rather than the full capability of the box. Right. And same for the storage as well. So we just disable some of the storage flash modules so that you're getting less and you pay less then. Right? Okay. So that it basically makes it easier for us to manage a fleet when it's all homogeneous hardware and it's just that the BIOS level changes per customer cluster.
Got it. Okay. So now with that hardware, if it is, let's say if that hardware has more physical cores and we only use 64 core, what will happen to the remaining of the CPUs that are not used in that hardware?
They are disabled in BIOS. So they are literally not visible to BIOS even, therefore not visible to ESX. So they are not usable. They're literally not running.
Got it. Okay.
And so again, this is a cost thing, right? So it's making fitting to the workload better. So if you needed a certain number of nodes of a certain number of cores to meet your workload and potentially your licensing requirement around third-party licensing, whether that's Windows Server, SQL Server, those sorts of things, then you can literally fix your cluster to a lower number than what it would have been, and whatever works best for your application and licensing.
Yeah, sounds really great.
So that's going to be really cool. But, in terms of its maximum capability, 128 CPUs, 51 terabytes of storage, and 2 terabytes of RAM. The RAM will be always 2 terabytes, no matter what configuration. So that's going to be really exciting. As I said, that's in preview now, and we'll be rolling out to our regions over the next few months.
Got it.
Another one that we've had in preview for a while, but now it'll be going GA shortly, is what we call storage-only nodes. And this is available in the VE1 and will be available in VE2 as well. And as the name suggests, it is a node that is only providing storage. So if you imagine the regular nodes as hyper-converged, right, where they have compute, memory, and storage, and if you needed extra storage but not necessarily the extra CPUs or memory, typically you would just have to add another node, because this whole architecture is a hyper-converged architecture. So this is allowing that architecture to be a bit more flexible on the storage side of things by adding another node that only adds storage to your cluster. It doesn't add any more CPUs or memory. Okay, so it is literally the same node, but using some rules and stuff inside of VMware with, host affinity, host groups and those sorts of things. It means that it just allows for the vSAN storage capacity to expand by that additional node, but you don't get any more compute that you can use. So your workloads still have to remain running on the full HCI nodes in the cluster.
So that means it's definitely will be cheaper than the HCI nodes, right?
Absolutely. So this is a way of expanding just on the storage axes, and effectively only paying commensurate amount of a node that now only has storage and not the compute. So yes, it is most definitely cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's a TCO solution, but it's a really powerful one because it keeps the operational model pretty much the same for a VMware operator. You are bringing a VM into your environment and you just put it on the vSAN data store. You don't have to think, oh, wait, because I've needed to expand storage, but I did that with a separate data store on a separate system. You don't have to think about it that way. It's all the one data store. It's all the one VMware cluster. So you're pretty much operating it the same.
Right. And so you just expand storage as much as you need and as you need it, right? Yeah.
That's right. Exactly.
I like the use case. Really good.
So that's been, we've had a number of customers using that in preview, and they've been really successful with that. Now, look, this is a really complicated slide to try and show something that we're making things easier. But really, like the zero config I mentioned earlier is where VPC peering is just on by default and peers with your cloud native VPC, which is the cloud native network, in your project straight away. So that's kind of the making things easy part of it. But we're also making it a lot more flexible, where you might have a GCVE, so a private cloud, or an SDDC as it's sometimes called, in one region. You might have one in another region. You might want to control how the routing happens between the two. You might have two in the same region, but you might want to use one for non-production and the other for production, and you want to make sure that the traffic is isolated between the two. You might have to connect with different business units that have different VPCs. There could be a myriad of configurations, and there has been some restrictions on how you can take advantage of the complex enterprise networking requirements that you might have. We've really made some great strides there to make networking just even more flexible. Even though we felt that we had a pretty good model beforehand, it just becomes even more flexible, and just being able to use our cloud native DNS service, Cloud DNS, with not only the management components of VMware Engine, but also all of the workloads that you're bringing in as well, if you want.
I like that part. I mean, DNS is always a big beast, right? And then if you don't manage it properly, there's a lot of issues. And with this, I think, new addition, I think it will be really easy for our customers for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's been one of the big asks that we've had from our customers for quite a while. And so it's really exciting to have that coming very, very soon. It's in preview now, and it'll be very, very soon launched. Still on the preview side as well, is bringing the VMware Engine console, so the UI for VMware Engine, fully embedded inside of the Google Cloud console that our customers have been using for all of the cloud native services. So yes, whilst VMware Engine it is a first party service, has been since we launched it in 2020, it does at the moment, it kind of pops out to a separate console when you're needing to create a private cloud, expand a private cloud and things like that. We're just bringing that now 100% inside of the regular Google Cloud platform console, the UI, and so that's the UI part is in preview and coming soon, but the full command line, so it's the CLI and our API is already GA, and so we've already got customers driving the VMware Engine environments, both from a create, update, delete, all those sorts of things, using the CLI and using Terraform with the API. That'll also bring in a unified logging and metrics experience. So you'll be able to see all of the activity logs, all of the audit logs, everything, all within Google Cloud Logging.
Got it. Yeah. So more simplification and just more unified, right? Everything done from the same look and feel, same console. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's going to be really, I think, beneficial. Just bringing things together. Really.
Yep.
I talked about this. So being able to automate now, this is extremely popular, and as it should be for cloud native environments, declaring how you want your infrastructure to be, and then having a tool like Terraform then go and actually instantiate and keep things in your desired state.
Mm-hmm.
VMware Engine, no different now. So we can now drive that via Terraform, and Terraform, of course, using the underlying API to create new private clouds, update them, create clusters, and manage the networking interconnectivity between VMware Engine and the rest of Google Cloud. So you can now truly have your end-to-end environment in Google Cloud all declared as infrastructure as code if you want.
Yeah, this is good.
Now, I talked about security and how important that is. We have a feature in Google Cloud called VPC service controls. Mm-hmm. And it's a bit of a loaded term with the term VPC and all of that. But what it is it's about controlling what access to external resources your cloud resources have. Can they reach out to an API service like our cloud storage or even BigQuery or things like that from the things that are inside a perimeter being the VPC? And that has been fully functional and works great for cloud native VMs like GCVE or Kubernetes and so forth.
Yeah,
we've extended that now to VMware Engine. So if you've got workloads running in VMware Engine, you can create a perimeter that specifically allows or denies access from your VMware workloads to go out to various services. So it's mitigating data exfiltration risks and bringing that into to VMware Engine. So that's really, really important, and it's a huge part of our enterprise customers. Financial services, highly regulated industries in particular have been asking for this. So this is now available for VMware Engine. So it's really good.
Yep, added security, always good.
And I mentioned logging before, but this is of course a really important part of uncovering if there are any security incidents in your infrastructure, if you've been compromised or your apps have been compromised. So the full logging and monitoring of not only the audit logs of the service, but also all of the logging from vSphere and NSX. And really importantly as well, when you leverage NSX and the distributed firewall, all of the logs for that, all of the hits and the allows and denies and so forth from the firewall, being able to really work out what's going on, that is now being fully integrated with the rest of the Google Cloud Logging. So you will get the full access to all those logs as well.
So does it mean that when I have, let's say, GCVE infrastructure set up and running, all these logs by default goes there directly, or user has to configure it to go to the Google Cloud Logging?
There is a step to configure capturing of vCenter and NSX logs, but the platform logs, audit logs, and the control plane logs, that is all out of the box.
Right.
So there's just one other step that, again, we've got some automation runbooks in order to spin up the way to capture the VMware logs as well.
Right. So, but does it come with additional costs to the user if we have to use this feature?
No additional cost. So Google Cloud, well, the agent, no cost. You can run it on a VM that is inside of GCVE. So if you've already got the GCVE environment, it's only going to be using a very small percentage of your available resources on there. And then ingesting and storing all of those logs in Google Cloud Logging. We also have a free tier, so it stays in Google Cloud Logging for a certain number of weeks before it rolls over. If you want to store it longer than that, then you have the option of creating a log sync and having it actually exported out either to a downstream system that you might like to use. A lot of customers use Splunk or Realize Log Insight, BigQuery. So there's a number of options there, but out of the box, you can have it all stored in Cloud Logging for several weeks for no charge.
Got it. Yeah, this is neat.
The permissions model in cloud is, I think, very well understood in the sense of having identity and access management, or IAM. Previously with VMware Engine, because VMware Engine, it's kind of like a platform within a platform, right? You've got Google Cloud Platform, and then you've got the VMware platform inside of it. And so what we had was the more coarse-grained, like you're either a VMware Engine administrator from a Google Cloud IAM perspective, which allows you to then go and create private clouds, create clusters, or you're a viewer. So you can just see, but you can't do any changes. And then if you wanted much more fine-grained permissions, you'd then go inside of vSphere and use the vSphere permission model, right? To then, the RBAC model inside vSphere. And that will still remain, but now what we're also doing is making the platform level roles and permissions far more fine-grained. So now you'll be able to construct an IAM custom role that is for someone that is allowed to go in and maybe configure the auto scale policy, right? Or, but nothing else, I mean, just to use a really extreme example. So it's going to be really, really fine-grained capabilities. That's in preview right now, and that's coming out very, very soon.
And that's going to be done right from the Google Cloud Console itself using the IAM, right?
Correct.
Yep. All the IAM policies, etc. Okay, this is good.
Now, I talked before about being able to expand the storage in a GCVE environment by just adding a storage-only node, and that is a fantastic option, and customers can take advantage of that, of course. But there is also other options in this space, and one of them, well, two of them, in fact, is Google Cloud File Store, which is Google's native NFS file storage solution in Google Cloud that you can provision to VMware Engine as an NFS data store, and it's fully supported. The SLA for both services is intact when you have this in place, so it's absolutely a fully supported configuration. Likewise, we just announced a couple of weeks ago Google Cloud NetApp Volumes service. So this is a first-party implementation of NetApp as a service. So it's NetApp as a service. So just like GCVE is VMware as a service running in Google Cloud, NetApp Volumes is now NetApp as a service running inside of Google Cloud, but it's first party. It's provided, supported, sold by Google. So it's an option, right? You can go with File Store. You could go with NetApp Volumes. NetApp Volumes has other benefits, of course, for customers that are coming from a NetApp background and NetApp in their on-premise environment. If they need Windows file shares, SMB, that can only be done with NetApp. So there's a bunch of reasons why NetApp is a very, very good choice. Snapshots, clones, there's a whole bunch of things. But also File Store, if you need something a bit more simple, just as an NFS data store with none of the bells and whistles, then File Store could be a good option there as well. So, now, I talked about VMware, not being existing in isolation. A lot of customers, of course, with their on-premise environment, have an existing backup and recovery tool. There's many out there, a whole ecosystem that has existed since VMware has existed. And we support all of those as well. So anything pretty much that runs in and supports VMware on-premise is very likely to be fully supported and operate just fine inside of GCVE as well. But that being said, our customers are also asking Google for a first-party option. And so we have Google Cloud Backup and DR that fully supports integration, of course, with VMware Engine and with Cloud Native as well, so Compute Engine, Kubernetes, and so forth. But specifically around VMware Engine, it integrates at the vSphere level, using the VADP APIs, and can do snapshot-level backups of the VMs, and then store either short-term on disk right there with the VM, so in the form of persistent disk or vSAN storage, and then of course it can store pretty much incremental forever for as long as you like in our cloud storage buckets. Available inside the Google console, a few clicks, and it integrates with GCVE.
So this one, is it like both VM level backup as well as file level backup?
It also has the ability to do in-guest agent-based backups that are coordinated also with the underlying VM level backups. So we have agents with full support for a myriad of databases and operating systems that you could be using inside of those VMs.
This is good.
And on that point, what we've done is create a lower cost way of getting VMware Engine and Google Cloud Backup and DR together. And we call that GCVE protected, right? So, or GCVE-P. That's a lot of letters. But basically, it is bundling the backup and recovery license, if you like, with the VMware Engine nodes. And it means that you can back up an unlimited number of VMs in your environment if you go with this approach. And it's only a small uplift on the regular GCVE node price. So it's just a little bit more, and then you get the ability for unlimited backups. So this is pretty cool as well, right? I mean, again, this is the technology exists separately, but this is now just bundling it as a good low-cost option.
And then it's also ease of backup, right? The VMware admin or the infrastructure admin doesn't have to have extra headache managing backups and thinking about disaster and recovery. If it's part of the service itself, I think it makes it much easier for them as well.
Exactly. That's what we're looking for.
And I see the ransomware recovery as well in the slide. So this service provides that as well?
Ransomware recovery, obviously, it's a space that I think a lot of businesses are now really, really looking for solutions to this. And the way Google Cloud Backup and DR service works is it does work off a incremental forever technology where it takes block level kind of snapshots, and it understands the block level differences from one snapshot to the next. And so it's very efficient in terms of how much it has to transfer from VMware Engine to the cloud storage bucket, for example. But it is also very quick to then reconstruct to any point in time. And that's actually one of the key benefits for ransomware recovery, is that, okay, if you are unfortunately impacted by a ransomware attack, all of your VM images have all been kind of crypto locked or whatever it might be, going through Google Cloud Backup and DR, you can just go, okay, roll back to this point in time, maybe 12 hours ago, a day ago, whatever it might be. And then we can do an instant mount of what it looked like at that point in time into a new virtual machine, spin that up in a test bubble, and you can have a look and you go, oh no, it's still that we were still compromised at that point. Okay, go back another 12 hours or day or whatever, how far back. And it's really quick to just go check. Okay, here's where we were good. Now we know the point that we can restore from and figure out, whilst we, of course, in parallel are figuring out from a security perspective, how was the compromise and all of that sort of stuff.
This is really
sort that out. But it is a built-in capability because you can just go to any point in time and instantly access it and instantly see, was it good at this point in time? So yeah, good.
And this is that speed that provides this, right? Yeah, this is good.
Now, look, I guess onto the generative AI, and how can generative AI possibly have anything to do with low-level kind of VM infrastructure technology?
Right.
So, look, this is an experiment, right? We've got an experimental generative AI chat interface coming into the Google Cloud VMware platform, where it'll actually be a plugin built into vCenter, right? That will be out of the box. This is the plan, right? This is all still preview, but this is the plan, is to have this built in as a plugin in vCenter, where you can do things like get an inventory report. So tell me about all of my SQL Server VMs and show me which ones are running at 90% CPU. You know, just like a natural language kind of query. And it will then use Google Cloud Generative AI in the back end to figure out your intent and what do you actually mean, and then translating that into, how do you find that information in vSphere? So driving the vSphere underlying APIs to surface that information up. So, I mean, that's just one example. But
Google Generative AI would have all the data from vCenter, and then it could actually answer you anything you want from a chat interface, right? It will be really easy for troubleshooting, monitoring. Yeah, I can see a lot of use cases there.
I think so, and just helping with, tell me about how these two VMs or this set of VMs in this network are talking to each other. Help me construct some DFW rules, right?
Exactly.
For the distributed firewall, right? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, lots of use cases. I can already see so many things we can do with this. Yeah. Awesome, man. Good addition.
So that's that's something obviously in preview, very experimental, and we'll continue to iterate, listen to our customers, see what improvements we can make to that.
Just quick one on that generative AI piece there. So if our customer wants to use it in preview, what do they have to do?
So they'll need to talk to their account team, and we can have their particular private cloud allow listed for this feature, because it is a private preview feature at the moment. Right. So yeah, reach out to your account team, and we will do our best to get you on that preview. And of course, once it migrates from preview to general availability, then the intention is that this would just be there out of the box without any configuration needing to be done. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, look, I mean, that's kind of in terms of what's new at the moment, for that we've either announced and shipped recently or is in preview and coming very soon. Right. I guess that's a summary of it. But to recap, Google are very serious about VMware as a service and making it the best place that customers can rapidly bring their existing infrastructure and existing workloads to cloud in the fastest way. But at the same time, we want to make sure that you can take advantage of the wealth of services and capabilities that are there at your fingertips in cloud, and making it as easy as possible to be able to integrate the VMware world with the cloud native world.
Absolutely. Google is well known for innovation, right? So I like a lot of innovation that is coming through in this coming months. And I know there will be much more in the future. So I'm really excited for similar kind of update testing in the future as well.
Definitely.
So thank you, Corey. There's a lot of updates I can see and a lot of value-added services and features to GCVE. Really appreciate your time, mate.
No worries. Yeah, it's been a pleasure being here. Thanks for inviting me.
And thank you to all of our viewers for your time today. Hope you find this video useful, and we look forward to seeing you again. Have a good one, and bye for now.